Hello guys, it's Fireside Chess coming back to you with another video. And today, we're going to be going over some just pretty basic checkmates, and I'm going to be showcasing my top 3 favorite. We have 2 rook, 1 queen, and 1 rook. And I would say the easiest would be the queen, then the 2 rooks, and then the 1 rook. But obviously, your difficulty with different puzzles varies depending on the type of player. But anyway, enough of my rambling. Let's get into this video. So I'm simply just going to be showcasing how to do the checkmates, and as I play through them, I'll just be explaining my thought process and how I do these checkmates personally. So without further ado, let's get started. So we have our 2 rook checkmate here, right? And normally what you want to do is you want to have 1 rook on like sort of a second rank sort of thing, or a second file. So it could be like the 7th, the 2nd, B, or G. It can be those ranks or files. Or even, well, yeah, basically just those 4 ranks or files. You have the enemy king positioned on the edge, and you bring in your second king, sorry, not your second king, your second rook to swoop in for the checkmate. So let's see how I do this. And one thing that we should know is that with the 2 rook checkmate, we actually can do this sort of like in a way similar to how a person would climb a ladder. And if you don't know what I mean, is that you want to align your 2 rooks like right next to each other in this sort of orientation. You see it here with C1, or just like anything like this. They're next to each other, they're on different files and different ranks, but they are just diagonal from each other with this orientation. And what you have to do is, you just need to move each one 2 steps forward on each of your moves until you reach the edge of the board. And with this, the king either moves back on his own, or you simply check him back and force him to run away. And the reason why this works is because the rooks sort of make like a line that cannot be passed. Because if they were diagonally, you could cross over like this. But since they're horizontally, there's no way you can get over it. So it sort of creates like what I like to call the line that must not be passed, or cannot be passed. And if we listen to the theory, we move up like a ladder, we can see that the king is just going at it on his own. Here, I'm just going to quickly move my king out of the way. And you see that I forced the king to move down now because he cannot come to the E file. And I can leave my king here because now it's no longer in the way. I bring my rooks down for checkmate. Oops, accidentally mouseoed. And you see we have a very easy checkmate. And if it makes sense, basically what you need to do is configure your rooks like this and just move them down one by one. And another possible scenario that can happen is that the king starts to move towards one of your rooks, like I'm about to show you right here. And also, by the way, if I sound sick, I am sort of sick. I have really bad spring allergies, so you might hear me like have a stuffy nose or something. And we continue to move our rooks down the board. And you see here now I can't move to b6 because this ends up losing my rook. So simply what you have to do is just move to the other side of the board. And also remember that they still stay on different files and ranks, because otherwise, say if I have my h4 rook on g4, I won't be able to do the checkmate anymore. And we see here, we have to move it again. And I have to move once more. And I deliver checkmate. So that is just, in short, the 2 rook checkmate. Let's close this. Now we have the single queen checkmate, right? And this checkmate, all we have to do is get our queen to be a knight's move away. And what I mean by a knight's move away is that, say if I have my king or my queen on d4, it's technically like a knight's move away. Like if my queen was a knight, then technically the king is in check. So I could bring my queen, for example, to f4, to g5, to g7, to f8. Oops. f8. To d8. c7. Whoops. c7. Or even to c5. So those are the different places I can bring my queen to. So let's get started. I want to bring my queen to d4, but first, since I can't get there directly, I'll move to d3. And now the king brings himself to a nice move away. So rather than making a move with my queen, I'll just sort of waste a move by moving with my king. Now the king moves away. And once you're that nice move away, right, and it's your turn, and the king moves away, simply you just need to mimic the king. Oh, whoops, I mouseoed. I did a big mouseo. I'll try this again. Okay. Just imagine the mouseo never happened. Alright, and you see we just mimic the king. Just keep mimicking. Now he hits the corner. Do not follow what the king moves up until here. Once the king hits the corner, this should be setting off sirens or bells in your head that do not mimic the king anymore. And do not get a knight's move away. Stay like a knight's move away, but either down one square or up one square. Well, I guess not really up one square, but just like down by one square. And what I mean by that is, if I were to follow the king again, I come to g6, right? This leads to a stalemate because the king will not be able to move anywhere because all of the squares will be defended by my queen. So that's not really helpful. So what I need to do is that I have to come to g5, or I can come to e7. I'm still like just a little bit off from a knight's move away, but I still end up giving the king 2 squares to just move back and forth from. Once we come to this stage, I just pull out my king. Whoops. But anyway, just bring the king in. I can move the king to any one of these 3 squares because it's still going to have the same result. Checkmate. And now we have our last checkmate, the 1 rook checkmate. And this one is a little more difficult. I'll just explain it as I'm doing it. So first, I'm going to start with h4, because one of the first things you want to do is sort of create a box around the king by using your rook and the edge of the board. We'll start to move up my king a bit. See what the black king does. And I have this. I need the rook to be constantly supported by my king, because when that king moves away, I just need to keep not really mimicking, but just at every opportunity I get, I just need to always keep closing up this box. Yep, let me do this. I play that. Okay, it's trying to come up. And I take the opposition. I tighten the box. Okay, decides to come here. I'll move down. Again, bring the rook here. I'll continue to bring my king up. Yep, this. And now I have the opposing king backed up against a corner. Now this is the important part. I need to have this king backed up against this back rank, and have my king be in opposition with the black king while it's still my turn, right? And what I mean by that is, let me move my king, and I can do this, right? Now, if you see, I'm going to just move my rook all the way over here. I also could have just delivered checkmate back here, but I'm just going to do this for the sake of showing what you need to do. Now that the king is here, you always need to make sure that your rook is like as far away from the king as possible, and you simply deliver checkmate. So that's simply it for like just a quick overview of the different checkmates. If you want me to explain each checkmate in like more deeply, just leave a comment on the video and I'll get that out as soon as possible. And now let me just show you guys quickly where you can find this like drill set. If you come to your drop down menu, or I guess sidebar, on the left of your screen, you hover your mouse over puzzles, move directly to the side, and you see drills. You click on drills. Just wait for this to load. You come to checkmates. It's the first box you'll see. And we have 2 rook, queen, and rook. We have more complicated ones down here, but I'm not going to be looking at those just yet. And as always, goodbye, stay safe, and until next time.